Welcome to the Pat White Show.
Well, unless you've been living under a rock for a while, you know the memorial service for Charlie Kirk that was broadcast on virtually every channel was held in Glendale, Arizona, which is outside of Phoenix, Arizona, at the State Farm Stadium. Take a look at this. There were people lined up at 4 a.m. in the morning to attend this event. They say the number was over 300,000. And obviously, the stadium only holds about 70,000, so the other people had to go over to the baseball stadium and watch it on video screens. But it wasn't the only place that memorials were held. They were held all over the United States of America, at football stadiums, at NASCAR stadiums, even in other countries. Memorials were held. Charlie Kirk turns out to be, well, I hate to say it, but almost a saint, because he's being celebrated around the world, not just in Phoenix, Arizona, not just in Utah, but everywhere in the United States. And all the major sporting events, all those things that were happening, people attended and paid homage to the passing of Charlie Kirk. Now, the event itself at the State Farm Stadium featured Charlie's wife, Erica. She got up on the stage and she talked a great deal, but here's something you have to understand. This woman, when she was called to Utah, she was brought in to identify her husband. Now, can you imagine what it had to be like? The sheriff told her this. Said, "Man, this ain't going to be pretty." When she had to identify his body, she said it was beyond anything. But she stood strong, very strong, and she got even stronger. Erica is a very highly educated woman. She's got master's degrees. She's got multiple degrees. She's got a JD degree, which means she went to law school. Extremely smart. And the board of directors of Turning Point, who received 63,000 requests for new memberships all around the United States and even around the world. They said, "Ma'am, you're about to become the CEO." And you know what? She accepted the job as being the CEO of Turning Point. And I think in a lot of ways, she's probably more dogged than he was. She's got a mission. And folks, she's going to carry it out. Now, at the ceremony, which was broadcast nationwide for everybody to see, there were a lot of big, powerful people there. But when Erica got up on the stage to speak, she said something very, very important. She says, "You know, the guy who killed my husband, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson," she said, "I forgive him. I forgive him." Quoting a line out of the Bible. She forgives him. That took a lot of courage, folks, to be able to do that, because one of the speakers that came up later on, the keynote speaker, was Donald Trump. And boy, when he spoke, he spoke. He was tough. He said, "Here's the deal. I ain't forgiving him." He said, "I don't forgive my enemies. He should get what he deserves." And in the state of Utah, that deserved probably could be the firing squad, because that's what they do in Utah. Will it end up that way? Well, that's very difficult to say, especially based on the attorneys who will probably represent him or try to represent any appeal he might attempt to utilize. But here's the deal. She says, "I forgive the guy who killed my husband." That takes a lot of moxie, folks. And that takes a lot more than that. And yet thousands upon hundreds of thousands upon millions of people around the world, were honoring this. You know, I hate to say it in some ways, but this, and what I saw, and I remember it because I was old enough to see it, the number of people in Charlie Kirk's case that are honoring him, probably more than Martin Luther King did when he was assassinated. I know that you're saying, "Well, that's blasphemy," but the truth is the truth. Now, How's that going to turn itself out? Like I said, 63,000, 62,000 more applications for new Turning Point. Maybe, just maybe, this is a turning point in America. And here's something else to think about. Tyler Robinson's family, his dad, the person who talked him into turning himself in, well, he was going to receive $1.5 million of reward money. He said, I ain't taking it. It goes to his wife. She needs it more than he does. That's what he says. His parents are probably very, very upset and very, very ashamed of the fact that their son turned badly. They knew he went off the line. They knew he went off the grid. They knew he went off the rails, if you say. But they took that money, not keeping it. It's blood money and not taking it. Goes to his wife. So all those events, all those football games, all those NASCAR races, all those events worldwide, even in other countries, people honoring somebody who was cut down 31 years old because all he did was speak. He didn't demand uproar. He didn't demand a change of the government. He just talked to people. That's what he did. He professed his faith and he talked to people. He would go up, set up his tent and says, hey, prove me wrong. Let people come in. He had a tremendous following with young people. The young people would have elected Donald Trump in 2024, folks. Sorry, it's what happened. And Charlie Kirk was the one who moved him. All the campuses he went to. Because, what? He said, let's talk. That's what he wanted. Let's talk. Let's discuss. And as a result, a bullet took his life. What's going to happen down the road, I don't know. Tyler Ferguson is still going to be up for charges, but you saw what happened at the event. More than 300,000 people showed up at 4 a.m. just for a chance to get in and see it. This is big, folks. This is probably bigger than most people will understand. And how big it ends up being, nobody knows. But talk about powerful. This was powerful. And now, let's see where America goes with the image, the light, and the feelings toward Charlie Kirk, assassinated at 31 years old because of what he spoke. Peace and love and honoring Jesus Christ. Just saying. You know, for the past, many years, I always waited for the spring to come around, January, February, March, because one of the biggest things you would see during that dull and dark time of the year is the Girl Scouts selling cookies. I mean, who could complain about the Girl Scouts? My favorite, the Thin Mints. Oh, man, I love those. Well, those are, what, $3-4 a box? When my kids were younger, they were in Girl Scouts. And my wife was a Girl Scout cookie mom, as you call them. We had hundreds of boxes of Girl Scout cookies. The girls was ready to sell. People were buying Girl Scout cookies. You had kids that go door to door. They'd sell boxes and boxes of Girl Scout cookies. Well, back then, they were anywhere between, $3 and $5 a box. Well, now, those boxes are going for $6, $7 a pop for the little bitty box of cookies. People are going, wait a minute. Can't afford that. But here's the biggest problem that has now happened in our society. People are saying, well, I can't buy Girl Scout cookies because they have peanuts in them, because they use peanut flour, and they have whey, which is a milk product. Well, gee whiz, I'm allergic to peanuts. I'm allergic to milk. 30, 40, 50 years ago, nobody had peanut allergies. I don't know where that peanut allergy came from. But so many young people today have peanut allergies. I'm going, how did that possibly occur? What caused so many kids to have peanut allergies? Where'd it come from? I don't know. Some say it was when vaccines are given. Can't prove anything I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But I do know this about the Girl Scouts. Come next year, they're going to be selling a brand new cookie called Explore Moors. Sort of a chocolate cookie with the Rocky Road ice cream, and like an ice cream sandwich, if you will. But the people say, well, I can't buy it because my daughter has celiac disease or my kids are allergic to peanuts. The biggest problem is These cookies are going for $7 a box for these little tiny boxes. Sorry, people aren't going to pay $7 a box. I hate to tell you that. You know, the problem now with the Girl Scout is the Girl Scouts been around for what, 113 years? Right now, they've got a $3 million deficit, and it ain't getting better, it's getting worse. So, what are they trying to do to solve the deficit problem? Make the cost of being in the Girl Scouts was $25, ultimately went up to $45 in 2025. Next year, the cost is going to be like $65. People don't have that kind of money in today's society. You know, after the COVID thing, when the Biden administration dumped $2 trillion into the economy, your dollar you have dropped in value 20%. Can't put $2 trillion with no backing into the economy without having the money go down in value, and it did. So everybody's money is worth 20% less than it was 5 years ago. And here's the problem. The Girl Scouts still want to sell their cookies. I understand. I'd love to buy the Thin Mints, but I've got to take a look and decide, what can I afford and what can I get for $5? Can I go to the Kroger and buy a bag of cookies with more cookies for $5? Probably. I have my favorites. But yes, I like the Thin Mints, the s'mores, those kind of things. The coconut ones, great. But you know what? Times are changing. And unfortunately, the Girl Scouts are in a world of hurt right now. And that deficit is not going to get better, folks. I think it's going to get worse. And now, well, girls are joining the Boy Scouts. I don't know what America's happening, folks. I just don't know. But I do know this. The age-old concept of people buying the Girl Scout cookies like they used to, that's going the same way as, well, whatever else you could think that's going away. Everything is changing. And frankly, some not for the better. Some is for the worst. So could we lose the Girl Scout cookies eventually? I mean, you start getting $7 a box, yeah, that's probably going to happen. Charity is all well and good, but eventually you're going to ask for something of value for your dollar. And right now, the Girl Scouts are pricing themselves out of the market. My opinion, but it's something you need to know. Go forth and buy cookies, okay? Well, America, it's been 10 days since an assassin brutally assassinated Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Young man was 22 years of age. His name was Tyler Robinson. And, well, right now he's resting in jail, facing multiple felony counts, one of which is going to give him the death penalty if he is so convicted. Now, here's the bigger problem that's come down from all of this. The ABC television network decided, for whatever reason, to stop broadcasting the Jimmie Kimmel show. Why? Well, ABC has a contract with Jimmie Kimmel to do his show. And they decided that other TV stations and various networks, the Sinclair Network and the another network, I think it was one of the other media networks, was saying, hey, we don't want to broadcast this anymore because this TV show is supposed to be a late night comedy show. Keep that in mind. Late night comedy show was not comedy. It had lost comedy a long time ago. Turned into a political program. Now, keep something in mind. If you want to have late night comedy, let's go back to Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson was genuinely funny and did not really delve into politics. He hit both sides of the aisle when he felt it was necessary. But it was a comedy show. And later on, David Letterman came along, and his show was comedy. I used to like watching it because things like this top 10, stupid pet tricks, all sorts of strange stuff that David Letterman did in his show, but overall he was funny. But when the new people came along, and Jay Leno retired, and you had all these other people come over, well, one Jimmie Kimmel, who used to be, many years ago, Jimmie Kimmel used to be funny. But for whatever reason, he turned to the dark side. Politics. Politics late night. I'm going to tell you something, folks. I don't watch late night to be agitated or upset by somebody pulling politics on me. I hear enough during the day. I turn at night, If I want to be entertained, might as well laugh before I go to sleep. That's what I want to do. So I don't watch Jimmy Kimmel. Frankly, I don't watch Jimmy Fallon and all the other ones because, well, they're not all that funny. Leno was funny, Carson was funny, and Jay Leno was funny. But what they have right now is not. But ABC made a choice to say, okay, we're taking Kimmel off because Kimmel did it's one of the worst things you could possibly do. He went on national TV and said and told a bald-faced lie. There's no other way to put it. What he said was absolutely, totally, and complete a lie, and you're saying that to a national audience. I knew when he said it, I said, wait a minute, he's lying. That's not true what he said. The sheriff's department in Utah said that was not true what he said. The FBI even came out. Everybody knew, and I'm sure that Kimmel knew, and I'm sure his writers knew. I'm sure all the staff people knew. The FBI had come out and said, no, this kid had gone to the dark side. Even his parents admitted it. Because whatever happened, he went south. He went into the dark web, became a gamer. Not that that's the wrong thing to do, but I'm just telling you, Kimmel went on TV and placed a bald-faced lie, presented that to the United States as if it were true. And he knew it was untrue because everybody else, when they sat there, knew the same thing. This isn't about changing and altering someone's freedom of speech. You have a freedom of speech, but you can't yell fire in a crowded theater if there's no fire. That ain't freedom of speech. Sorry. And you can't go on national TV and tell a bald-faced lie that you know is a lie because it's already been proven it was a lie. Well, that's what he did. So now, how about, freedom of speech, we're losing freedom of speech. None of these people are talking about what actually happened. Well, we can't, so eternally, it's lying. It's fine, it's correct, as long as you're making the lie about the other side. They say, well, you see this in Congress all the time. These congressmen, they're lying all the time. Yeah, because they have a clause that says they can't be held liable for what they say as a member of Congress. Weird law, but it exists. It's a rule. Call it what you will. I'm just telling you flat out that ABC made a choice because it's an at-will network. You know, Colbert lost his job because he lost his ratings. Well, guess what? Jimmie Kimmel has been losing his ratings for the last 10 years, and they have been dropping like a stone. If you don't have ratings, you don't have advertisers. And by going political and saying in 2020, when Trump was reelected, saying you Republicans who voted for him, you're going to be sorry. So you're going to turn off 77 million people right there, right? Comedy is comedy. What is portrayed in late night nowadays is not comedy. It's not funny. It's turned into a political diatribe. And Jimmie Kimmel was the worst at it. I don't watch him. I don't enjoy him. I liked Carson. I like Leno. I liked Letterman. But this, sorry, folks, I'm not a fan. If you are, that's your choice. But to say this is a violation of freedom of speech, if you can go on national TV and tell a bald-faced lie that you know is a lie and say that's freedom of speech, you ain't reading your Constitution correctly. Because if you believe that, then you believe you can yell fire in a crowded theater and you have a perfect right to do it. Just saying, something to think about. One of the more interesting things that has occurred since the murder of Charlie Kirk in that Utah campus by that 22-year-old young man has been Turning Point. Now, you have to understand something so you get where we're going here. Turning Point USA is an organization that was developed and started by Charlie Kirk. It was an organization very much religiously based, very much honesty based. And around the United States, there were thousands of chapters that existed around the United States when Charlie Kirk was alive. Well, since his assassination, guess what? They have had 62,000, you heard me right, 62,000 requests to start a chapter in this various locations all around the United States. High schools, colleges, organizations everywhere. 62,000 requests to start their own turning point. You know, the death of Charlie Kirk may have awakened a giant that people haven't even seen coming. You know, Yamamoto, when he's getting ready to attack Pearl Harbor, said, "Nah, we may have awakened a giant here." And he did. Look what happened in Japan. Now, so the death of Charlie Kirk, well, a lot of people said, I want to be part of that organization. I want to have that organization in my life. So 62,000, I can't say every one of those is going to turn into a chapter. I don't know. Nobody does. But I can tell you this. I saw the address that his wife, Erica, made to the nation saying, Charlie, we're going to continue on with Turning Point. And folks, if you don't know it, Erica Kirk is not dumb. This woman has undergraduate degrees, graduate degrees, JD degrees. She was Miss Arizona. She is a smart, intelligent, and she is a devoted, and she is focused. And she says, Charlie, you think I'm going to make this thing even better. She can be possibly more powerful than him. But now you realize people came forward, came out of the bushes to say, I want to be part of that organization. So maybe, just maybe, the death of Charlie Kirk erupted something in America. And the people of America says, you know what? All this stuff that's been going on the last 5 years, 7 years, the cancellation climate that's been going on, maybe America has had enough. America said, we're done with this. We want to go back to being a regular country where everybody respected everybody else. We all got along. Now, is that a possibility? Maybe. You could hope, because the way America's been going in the last few years, we were going towards something that could have been very, very ugly. You know, we had a civil war back 100 and some years ago. And to tell you the truth, folks, it was going that way. We could have been going toward another one, except it wouldn't have been the North versus the South. It would have been the red versus the blue. That could have been very, very bad. So maybe, just maybe, Turning Point will step in and people will form the chapters and say, nope, America, we can't do this. Because now America is saying, you know, we're done with this. The cancel culture should be over. And now we should get back to saying what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong, and we'll operate that way. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get out of this mess. No one can guarantee we will, but Erica Kirk has decided she's going to carry on for her husband. And 62,000 potential chapters? Nobody saw that coming. And will it result in 62,000 new chapters? Nobody knows. But there's a movement, folks. And that movement is starting to say, America, it's time to go back to being a decent, honorable, and great country. Because we've been going everywhere but that. Let's see what happens. And let's say if Charlie Kirk created a storm that no one saw coming. Well, what do you say we take a little jaunt up to Lansing, Michigan, just north of us, to WLIX TV in Lansing, reporting a story of an 11-year-old young man in a classroom. This little young man in the classroom observed something that really disturbed him. What he saw was another student, 11-year-old kid, keep this in mind, sees another kid in the classroom with a gun. Now, I don't know about you, but how many stories have we heard about kids coming into classrooms and starting blowing people away? Well, this 11-year-old kid, he went over, talked to the kid or whatever he did, approaching the kid with a gun, managed to get the gun away from the kid and took it apart. And then took the bullets out of the gun, which told you it was a live gun with live rounds, and threw the bullets away. All right, sounds like a pretty good story, you think, right? Hey, kid takes away a kid's gun, saves possibly a lot of kids' lives up in Michigan. Well, apparently not to the school, because the school has now expelled the kid. I don't know about the kid who was holding the gun, who had the gun in their possession, which is obviously illegal for a kid that age. But the kid who took the gun away from the kid with the child with the gun has also been expelled. Now, because they said he didn't contact an adult soon enough. Yes, he did ultimately contact an adult and say, hey, little Johnny had a gun, I took it over, took it apart, and threw away the bullets, sir. Well, the school said, sorry, that's not good enough, son. You should have, instead of taking the gun away, apparently, you should have contacted the teacher. Well, here's something to think about. If an 11-year-old kid knows how to take a gun and dismantle it and remove the bullets, that tells me the kid has been trained. That tells me the kid understands firearms probably, and I'm just saying probably, better than the teacher who may not understand firearms at all. And what's a teacher going to do who doesn't understand firearms? Woo! Call the police! Whatever. But expelling the kid because he failed to immediately tell an adult seems to be a little bit on the harsh side. So I would like to hear the rest of the story because unfortunately we don't have the rest of the story. The only thing we know is the school district is not talking about it, but the mother of the 11-year-old child who took away the gun said the child acted out of fear and to protect others. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm an 11-year-old kid and I see another kid in the classroom with a gun, yeah, I'd be scared. But if the kid was able to overtake his fear, approach the child with a gun, take the gun away from him or her, and dismantle the gun and take out the bullets and, well, throw them away, that kid's been pretty well trained by somebody. I don't know who, but I'm just guessing. But I can tell you this. I'm not happy the school district has elected to, ban the child from the school, being excommunicated, being expelled, call it what you want to say. All right, if they want to chastise the kid, saying, hey, you should have gone to an adult sooner or immediately, all right, I'll let you have that argument. I got no problem with that. But for a child who's willing to approach another child, take the gun away, break it down, and make it, unusable, if you will, and toss away the bullets, hey, maybe he waited too long to contact an adult. Okay, I'll give you that. But being expelled from the school? Sorry, folks. Now, I don't know the rest of the story, and the rest of the story has not yet been released. But let's see what the school decides to do. Because in my book, a kid that does this to another kid, one overcomes fear, and pure fear. And the fact the kid was able to, take apart the gun and throw away the bullets, courage. And that means he knows what he's doing. My opinion. But if it were my kid, I'd be standing up for him too. Because he knows something, and he may have saved a lot of kids' lives in that class. And not to be expelled. Just my take on it. Well, in today's modern world, we live with a whole lot of gadgets that we didn't have 10, 15, 20 years ago. And frankly, some of those gadgets is going to get you into trouble. Now, it's a story out of Washington, D.C. A gentleman is by the name of Jacob Winkler. He's 33 years of age, so you figure he's old enough to know what he's doing, right? Well, apparently Jacob Winkler was walking down the street and he had a laser pointer. Now, laser pointers are very common in today's world. You use them a lot in business. Here, I got one here I even use. See, that's what I've got. I got a laser pointer. I use this for business and doing a presentation or something like that. Yeah, laser pointers, fairly common. But here's a 33-year-old guy not doing a business presentation. He's walking down the street, talking to himself very loudly. Okay, playing with a laser, pointing a laser at all sorts of things. Well, a police officer sees the guy doing this. And the police officer, being what police officers do, he grabs his flashlight and puts his flashlight on this gentleman, Mr. Winkler. Mr. Winkler immediately goes and turns his laser light on the police officer. Well, that never leads to a good plan. Shining a laser on a police officer, that could get you probably in trouble, and ultimately it did. So there is Mr. Jacob Wexler, age 33, being accosted by a police officer. Right at that moment, Marine One, Marine One is? It's the helicopter that flies the president. Well, suddenly Marine One is flying over. Whop, 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 whatever they do. So Mr. Wexler takes his laser pointer and points it at the helicopter. Well, whether you like it or not, folks, that has been done repeatedly before, and it's caused pilots a lot of problems. You hit a pilot at night in the eyes with a laser, you can blind him. And a blind pilot is not good for landing. Well, in this case, so Mr. Wexler shines the light at Marine One at the pilot. Now, there's no word that anybody was harmed in this thing, but he was arrested because shining a laser at an individual or at an airplane, I'm going to use the airplane, is a felony. You heard me right. If you didn't know it, you know it now. You take a laser and you shine it at an airplane, you get caught, you are going to get hit with a 5-year prison term. Now, if you want to go away for 5 years for, 3 hots and a cot, your call. But I don't know if you want to be charged with that. Well, it turns out in Washington, D.C., Judge Janine Perot is the head attorney in Washington now. She said the behavior endangers Marine One and everyone on board. She said, if you engage in this act, you will be identified and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. So my guess is the prosecutor in Washington, D.C. is going to take Mr. Winkler, to court and file a felony charge against him for shining a laser at Marine One. Now, what kind of attorney will he have? Well, nobody knows, because court records don't indicate he has an attorney yet, which tells you he's probably indigent and probably going to get a court-appointed attorney. Okay, fine. You have a right to that. But guy walking around, 33 years of age, shirtless, yelling at stuff, yelling at people, walking around D.C. in the middle of the night. I'm guessing his attorney is going to go for, Your Honor, he's crazy. He's mentally incapacitated. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's stupid. That's my guess. But just so you know going forth, that shining a laser at an airplane will get you a 5-year prison term. I hope you understand that, because Mr. Jacob Winkler, 33 of Washington, D.C., is about to find out that he has stepped into the legal system. And the way out's going to cost him 5 years in the slammer. Now you know, go forth and don't shine a laser at an aircraft.